Okay, chapter 16 of financial accounting. The name of chapter is a trial balance. I mean, we need to know what is trial balance, errors, and suspense account. Trial balance, errors, and suspense account. What we do for every transactions, we record the journal entry. That is called general journal. Like debit something, suppose cash, credit something, suppose sales. Next entry, debit something, suppose purchases, credit something, suppose payables for credit purchases. From these journal entries, we prepare ledgers. For cash, we will be having separate ledger. For sales, we will be having separate ledger. For purchases, we will be having separate ledger. For payables, we will be having separate ledger. You know, like
Oh,
this.
yes, sir.
So we record amounts here, 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 here. Then we tally the ledger. We record amounts here, 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 here. Then we tally the ledger. If the balancing figure is appear here, this we will call it credit balance as balance brought down. If the balance is coming here as a balancing figure, we carried forward, we will call it debit balance as balance brought down here. From the ledgers, we prepare trial balance. From the ledger, we prepare trial balance. What is trial balance? In trial balance, there are two columns. One is called debit and other is called credit. Here we say the particulars. Suppose this ledger name is cash, we will record cash. If suppose its balance is a debit balance, we will record here. Then the next ledger name is a sale, we will record sales. If suppose it is having credit balance, we will record in the credit column. Next ledger is suppose purchase ledger, we will record purchase. Its debit balance, we will record here. Next say is a payable ledger, we will record payable. It's showing says credit balance, we will record here. And then what we will do, we will record all the accounts here. Accounts balance here, debit on debit side, credit on credit side. And then what we do, we will total them. And this balance should always be equal to this balance. How we prepare trial balance mean all the accounts from ledgers we will record in a list form. Mean all the list is here. If they are having debit closing balance, that will be recorded under debit column. If they are having credit closing balance, that will be recorded under close credit balance list. And then we total them. And this debit balance, credit balance always equal each other. This means our ledgers, our accounting entries was correct. From trial balance, we will move or we will prepare by using these account balances, income statement and balance sheet. So what is trial balance? The sum up of all the ledger balances is called our trial balance. It look like this. This is debit column, this is credit column, and these are the account balances. Suppose revenue is having a credit balance, inventory is having a debit balance because it is asset, purchases, expense having debit balance, admin expenses having debit balance, property, plant and equipment asset having debit balance, trade receivable asset having debit balance, cash asset having debit balance, share capital liability, share premium liability, retained earning liability, loans liability, trade payable liability, and bank overdraft liability, credit balance, and then this is the total. And we know there are four account heads: assets, liabilities, expenses, income. Asset, liability, expenses, income. Asset, liability, or we can say liabilities and capital, expenses, and income. Assets is having a debit nature, that's why their balances will be debited. So these are the assets: property, plant and equipment, trade receivables, cash. Liabilities is having credit nature, that's why their balances are credit, like a bank overdraft is a liability, trade payable is a liability, loan is a liability, and these are capital. Expenses is having a debit nature, that's why they are recorded on debit side. What are the expenses? Purchases, admin expenses, inventory is an asset. And income are having credit nature, that's why their balance appear on credit side. Revenue is a income. So assets and expenses are debit nature, liabilities and incomes are of credit nature. Can you understand this concept? Mean how the trial balance will be prepared.
Yes, sir.
This is enough relating to trial balance. Mean what is trial balance? We have got a little bit familiarity. Like first we record the transactions into ledgers, then the ledger accounts balanced off, and the balance extracted from the ledger will be transferred to the trial balance. And then from trial balance, we prepare the financial statements. We got this question number 1. What we need to do, complete the relevant ledger accounts and extract our trial balance. Mean first we need to pass journal entries, then we need to produce ledgers, and then we need to prepare trial balance. This is the question for your homework. It will take too long time, so you can solve this by yourself. For every entry, record journal entry, and then prepare
Yes.
ledger, and then from ledger balances you need to prepare trial balance, and the trial balance debit and credit total should be the same.
Same.
Answer is available in the book. If there is any issue, you can check from here. Now we are moving towards second topic, that is called type of errors. Errors. What are the errors? Sometimes while recording accounting entries, we make some errors. While recording accounting entries, we make some errors. I mean, this topic is called rectification of errors. Rectification of errors mean we need to correct the errors. How we can correct the error? Let's move towards test your understanding 2. State the journal to correct each of the following error. I mean, we need to perform rectifying error entry. And for rectifying entry, what we need to do, we need to prepare 3 columns. One is for correct entry. The second column is for wrong entry, what we have done wrong. And the third column we will prepare for rectify entry. So for each entry, we need to correct the error. What is the number 1? A cash sale of 100. What is the accounting entry of cash sale? Cash debit sale
Cash debit
credit
sale.
was
Yes, sir.
not recorded. Mean we missed to record this entry. We
Okay.
missed to record this entry. A cash sale was not recorded. If the cash sale was not recorded, a cash sale was not recorded. So what we need to do? We need to see what is the correct entry. cash, debit,
cash,
sale, credit. So
cash, debit, sales, credit.
debit,
Yes, sir.
cash with 100 and credit sale with 100. And we haven't recorded the entry, mean there is nothing wrong. So what could be the rectify entry?
It's the
Debit,
not this entry
cash,
only.
debit, cash, and credit sale
Sale.
by 100. This is the rectification entry for number one.
So like it was not recorded. So it's
It
nothing
was
wrong.
not recorded, mean there is nothing wrong. The wrong
Yes,
is
sir.
blank. So what
So
should
we
be
have
the
to just
rectification?
write
We
the
need to
correct
record
one.
the entry. Is that
Yes,
fine?
sir.
Number two, rent expense of 500 paid in cash. What is the correcting entry?
Rent
Rent expense,
expense.
debit, cash credit with 500
Yes, sir. Rent expense.
has been debited to the rent account in error. Rates expense, not rents, it's rates expense of 500.
Okay. Rates.
Mean the entry should be debit rates expense
Credit
with
cash.
500 and credit cash
Cash
500.
500.
We have debited to rent account in error, mean we have recorded debited
Rent.
rent with 100 and credit cash with 100.
So we need to first rectify the wrong one.
But first we need to rectify the wrong one. What is wrong? This is
So the
wrong.
rent one.
This
Yes, sir.
means this we should be credit rent by
Yes, sir.
rectification 100.
100.
What should be in debit?
So cash.
No, cash is already correctly
Okay.
credited.
Rates expense.
Rates expense that should
500.
be debit with 500.
And 400 will be
No, no,
the.
no, no. With 500. Instead of rates,
Okay.
we have recorded the entry with the rent.
It was 500 or 100, sir.
It's for 500, 500.
Okay, I thought it was 100. You wrote 100, sir.
It was 500. Is that
Okay.
fine?
Yes, sir.
Mean whatever is wrong, we need to rectify it. Whatever is corrected return, we do nothing for it.
Yes, sir.
The cash is correctly written. The correct, it should be on credit side 500. In the wrong, it is on credit side of 500. So we do nothing for cash, but we need to rectify what is wrong. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Now moving towards number three. A non-asset purchase of 1,000 on credit. If we have purchased a non-current asset on a credit, so asset should be debit with 1,000 and credit should be payable. Mean
Yes, sir.
this should be the correct entry. What happened? Has been debited to the repair expense account rather than an asset account. Instead of asset, we have written debit repair expense.
Okay.
This means on credit, there is a cash
Cash.
on 1,000 as it is. Sorry, payable as it is. Not
Cash.
cash, payable. Because
Okay.
it is saying about one account only. Mean instead of asset, we have written repair expense. The entry is
Okay.
recorded on a credit. Mean payable is credit in both cases. Mean instead of this, we have done this. So payable is correctly recorded. What is wrong recorded? Repair
So
expense.
the repair
So we
expense.
will credit repair expense with how much amount? 1,000.
1000.
And what should be on the debit side?
Sir, it should be
Asset.
asset. Yes, sir.
Is it fine? I mean, we
Yes,
have
sir.
recorded this. So this effect will be cancelled. What will be the correct effect? Asset, debit, and payable credit. I mean, this is our correct entry. But we have recorded this. So how we can rectify this? Whichever is written correct, that we need to do nothing for it. But whatever is written wrong, that we need to correct. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Now moving towards number 4. Goods purchased at a cost of 950 paid in cash. What should be the entry? If we have purchased 950 goods on cash, so purchases debit, cash credit.
Oh, yes, sir.
This should have been done. But what they did has been debited to the sales account. Instead of purchases, they have recorded a sales debit. Mean what could have been done? Purchases debit with how much amount? 950.
950 and cash.
And credit cash with 950. Instead of recording purchases on debit side, they have recorded a sales account on debit side. They have recorded
Sales.
debit sales 950. This means on credit side, if it doesn't say anything, this means cash is there. So cash is correctly recorded.
Okay.
What is wrong?
So purchases. So credit will be purchase.
The sales is written wrongly on debit side.
Okay. Yes, sir. The sale. Yes,
This is
sir.
the correct treatment. This is the correct treatment. But
Okay.
they have recorded like this. Instead of purchases, they have debited the sales account.
Okay. So debit will be purchases and credit will be sales.
Yeah, debit will be purchases that should have been there with the
And credit will
950,
be purchase.
and this credit that they have done should be cancelled by crediting it.
Okay.
You know, so they have made this entry and we have made this rectified entry. What could be the net effect? This sale is cancelled. So the net effect will be purchase debit, cash credit, purchase debit, cash credit. Mean we need to show this effect in the accounts by rectification. Can you understand this?
Oh, yes, sir.
Number 5. A cash sale of 76 has been recorded as a 67. Mean the
76.
entry should be cash debit sales credit with the 76.
Oh, yes, sir. But the error is
Cash
in amount.
debit sales credit with the 76. But they have recorded what?
Cash debit
Cash debit with the 67 and
and sales credit with
sales credit with the 67.
67.
So what we need to do to correct this effect, mean
We
this
need to
entry has been recorded with the 9
less
less.
le-
So
yes,
we
sir.
need to record it with the 9 more.
More. So cash
Cash
debit, sales
debit,
credit 9.
sales credit with the 9.
Yes, sir.
Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Now number 6. A cash sale of 200. What is the entry of cash sale?
Entry of cash sales is debit, cash credit sales.
It should have been recorded like this, but has been debited to the sale and credited to the cash. I mean, they have recorded wrong entry in reverse. I mean, the entry should be debit cash and credit sales with how much amount? 200. They have
Yes, sir.
recorded debit sales 200 and credit cash 200. What? How we can rectify it?
By um,
This is wrong. This is wrong. Both are wrong.
so the correct
This
one
means
only.
this wrong we should eliminate by crediting it.
Okay.
But with the 200, if we credit it, then this will clear just the effect of wrong, but will not create the correct effect. So we need to credit sale with 400. 200 will eliminate this wrong and 200 will rectify this right.
Sir, can you explain this one again?
This is the right entry. Mean what could be the right entry if we have a made cash sale of 200? So right entry should be cash debit with 200, sale credit
Yes,
with
sir.
200.
Yes, sir.
they have recorded sale debit cash credit.
Okay.
Instead of this, they have recorded this. How we can rectify? First, we need to eliminate this debit 200 by crediting it. And what should be there? 200 credit. So with the 400, we need to make a credit. 200 will eliminate this and 200 will correct this.
Okay.
And then we need to create cash debit with 400. The 200 will eliminate this wrong. And the 200 remaining will create this right impact. It's like that. First, we need to correct this entry. How we can correct this like a debit cash with 200 and credit sale with 200 mean through this entry we have reversed the effect of this. Now we need to record the correct entry again. What is the correct entry? Again, debit cash and credit sale with 200. Instead of passing these two entries, we have passed one entry.
Okay.
Can you understand this?
Oh, yes, sir.
In the first column showing what is the right entry of this transaction. Second, what they have done. And now we are rectifying it, mean how we can eliminate this wrong effect. Shall we cover this question again?
Oh, no, sir, I understood it. I understand.
Sure.
It's, yes, sir. It
Okay.
is a little bit tricky, but I understand it.
Okay. So these are the errors where trial balance tally with each other. These are the errors where trial balance tally. I
Kelly.
mean, what could be the types of errors in case of errors? What could be the type of errors? The type of errors are error of omission. What is error of omission? A transaction has been completely omitted from accounting records like the first entry. They were, it wasn't recorded. If the transaction that should have been recorded like this
Isn't
and they didn't record it, that is called omission error.
okay.
What is error of commission? Our transaction has been recorded in the wrong account. For example, rates expense instead of rates, they have recorded rent expense. Instead of recording rates expense to cash, they have recorded rent expense to cash. That is called error of commission. Mean wrong account balance has been recorded.
Okay.
What is error of principal? A transaction has conceptually been recorded incorrectly. For example, a non-current purchase of 1,000 has been debited to the repair expense account rather than asset account. This is error of principal. Mean instead of asset, you have debited the expense. Instead of crediting liability, you have credited the income. That is error of principal.
Okay.
Error of commission. Instead of expensing, debiting one expense, you have debited other expense. Means similar nature account balance, but in error of principal, different nature account balance you have created.
Okay.
What is compensating error? Two different errors have been made which cancel each other out. For example, a rent bill of 1,200 has been debited to the rent account as 1,400. And a costing error on the sale account has resulted in sales being overstated by 200. Mean like the last transaction, instead of recording cash to sale 200, they have recorded sales to cash 200. This means we need to make two correcting entries. First, to eliminate this wrong effect, and second, to create this right effect. And this is called what kind of error? Error of a compensating error. What is the error of original entry? The correct double entry has been made, but with the wrong amount. For example, cash sale of 76 has been recorded as 67. This means with the difference, we need to make another entry. What is the reversal of entries? The correct amount has been posted to the correct account, but on the wrong side, like instead of cash to sale, you have recorded sales to cash.
Yes, sir.
Is that fine?
Yes,
Error
sir.
of omission haven't recorded the entry. Error of commission. Instead of one account balance, you have debited other account balance.
Yes, sir.
Error of principal. Instead of debiting asset, you have debited expenses. Compensating, where you have to rectify with the two different entries. Error of original entry, wrongly stated the amount. And reversal of entry, you made the reverse entry. So now we are moving towards if there are errors like this, mean both effects we are correcting. The trial balance will be tally. Now we are moving towards some errors where trial balance will not tally. Where trial balance will not tally. In that case, what will happen? Suppose purchase of non-current asset costing 100 has been recorded by debiting 10 to the non-current asset account and crediting 100 to cash. Mean you have purchased asset with 100. What could be the right entry? Asset debit, cash credit
Cash
with how
credit
much amount? 100.
100.
What you have done? You have debited asset with 10 and recorded cash with 100. Mean debit credit is not matching with each other. So what we need to do, the asset has been recorded less with how much? 90. So to correct, we need to debit asset with 90. And for entry, we need to record a credit. What we can record in credit, the cash has been correctly recorded. So we will record suspense account with 90. In where debit credit not tallying with each other. They do not be the same figure. What wrong you have made in that the debit credit is not the same figure, then the difference will be called suspense account. Can you understand this? In question 2,
Yes, sir.
all the debit credit tally with each other. In every wrong entry, debit credit tally with each other.
Yes, sir.
But here, debit credit in wrong entry is not the same. They are not tally with each other. On debit, you have recorded 10. On credit, you have recorded 100. Forget about
Yes.
this. This means to rectify this, what you need to do, you need to correct what is wrong. Instead of 100, you have recorded non-current asset 10. This means by 90, you have to record non-current asset more, debit. And on the credit, cash is accurate. So what you can record in rectifying entry, suspense account with 90. Because one entry you cannot pass either debit, either credit. You have to show the both effects in debit credit. You cannot rectify just debit non-current asset. No, you have to record something in the credit. When there is nothing in the credit, you will record it suspense account. It's like in trial balance, if there are debit figures and there are credit figures. On debit figures, there are some figures say 100, 200, 500, 100, 300. On credit, there are some figures, say 300, 100, 100, 200, 100. When we are totaling them, this total is 3 plus 5, 8 plus 4, 1200. What is this total? 3 plus 1, 4 plus 1, 5 plus 3, 800. The difference is of 400. To make 1200 complete, this difference of 400 will be called suspense account.
Okay.
If it's on
Suspense account.
credit side, we will call it a credit balance. If it appears on debit side, we will call it debit balance. Our suspense account will arrive when we have made any wrong entry with the different amounts. This means the difference between the amounts is called suspense account. How? When we rectify the entry, we have rectified the one effect of this one, like this. What could be the other on credit side? Suspense account, because this credit 100 cash has been recorded correct. And this is the right entry, this is the wrong entry, and this is rectified. So if you have bought asset of 100 with cash, the correct entry should have been asset debit cash credit. But instead of this, you have recorded asset debit with 10 and cash credit with 100. This is the wrong entry. How we can correct it? What is wrong in this entry, wrong entry? The only non-current amount is recorded with 90 less. So how we can rectify? By debiting non-current assets with 90 more. Is there any issue with cash? No, this is recorded correctly. It should have been on credit side 100 and it is on credit side 100. So do nothing with this. So what we should record in the credit? We should record suspense account. Can you understand this?
Oh, yes, sir.
In case of correction of error, always remember three things. Correct the wrong, do nothing for correct. Mean this is correct. Cash 100 credit is correct. This is wrong. Instead of 100, it's 10. So we need to correct it. If anything is already written right, we don't need to do anything for that.
Yes, sir.
So if we have recorded debit non-current assets with 90 more because it is written 90 less here. So what could be the on the credit side? If there is no account, we will record suspense account. Can you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Now moving towards this illustration. It says what journals are required to correct the error and eliminate the suspense account. Mean we need to correct the error and then we need to prepare the suspense account. First,
Okay.
we need to correct the errors. How we can correct the errors? By making three columns right, wrong, and rectify. Right, wrong, and
Rectify.
rectify. So on extracting a trial balance, meanwhile preparing trial balance, the account of ETT discovered a suspense account with a debit balance of 1075. In trial balance, we found a debit balance of suspense account 1075. So suppose we will prepare suspense account after making the corrected entries. Included therein, it was also discovered that the debit exceed the credit by 957. Debit exceed the credit by 957. In trial balance, debit side is more by 957. So either suspense account will be on credit in trial balance or debit in trial balance. If in
Sir,
trial balance, the debit side is more by 957. So whether the suspense will be on credit column of trial balance or debit column of trial balance.
debit.
If debit is more 957.
If debit is more or credit is more?
If debit is more.
So credit.
It should be on credit side. This difference was posted to the suspense account and then investigating the situation. The investigation revealed the following. Number one, a debit balance of 75 on postage account had been incorrectly extracted on the list of balances as 750 debit. There was postage expense of 75. Right, postage expense of 75 and they have recorded as what 750 instead of 75 they have recorded postage of 750. Either postage is expense debit or credit. What's the nature of expense, debit nature or credit nature?
So debit nature.
They have recorded debit postage 750 instead of 75. This is the right treatment that could have been done, but they have recorded this. How we can rectify this? So this means the debit is more by 750. More by how much amount? What's the difference between these two? 750 minus 75. What's the difference? 675. You have recorded postage expense on debit side by 675 or more. How you can rectify this? If you have recorded 675 more on debit, so you can correct by crediting 675 with the postage expense. What should be on the debit side then? Suspense account if there is no account mentioned. Can you understand this? Might be you have a paid postage expense of 750. The accounting entry should be postage expense debit cash credit with 750. You have recorded cash correctly 75, but you have a debited postage expense with 750. Instead of 75, you have recorded 750. This means postage expense have been recorded more by 675. And instead of this, we have recorded this. How we can rectify? It's a debit nature expense. How we can eliminate 675 effect by crediting what could be the correct entry? Postage expense 675 credit. What should be on the debit side? Suspense account if there is no account mentioned.
Yes, sir.
Is that fine? Number one is done. This will go on the debit side of suspense account. Later on, we will open suspense account and this will go on the debit side of suspense account.
Okay.
Now, number two, a
Sir, I have a
payment of
question.
five. Uh-huh.
So, sir, like the every time there is an unknown transaction, like we don't know where the amount is, so we have to open a suspense account.
Exactly.
Okay.
A payment of 500 to a credit supplier X. What could be the entry for this? If you are paying
Um,
500 to supplier
Credit
X,
supplier. So,
supplier X debit, cash
yes,
credit
sir.
has been correctly entered in the cash book. Mean for cash, you have recorded right thing. Mean the entry should be debit supplier X, yeah, payable X, credit cash with how much amount? 500.
500.
So this should be the correct entry. What you have done wrong has been correctly entered in the cash book. Mean cash book 500 is fine, but no entry had been made in the payable control account. But you haven't debited the payable. Mean you have recorded credit cash with the 500, but on debit side you have recorded nothing. This
Okay.
means to rectify this, we need to record debit, but
Debit payables.
payable X with how much amount? 500.
500.
So this
Mm.
cash has been correctly recorded.
So we
So
will just
what we
open
can make
suspense.
corrected entry? Suspense account
Okay.
with 500.
Okay, sir.
This means the suspense account will be credited with 520, 500, sorry, 520, 500.
500.
Now moving towards number three. When a motor vehicle had been purchased during the year, the bookkeeper didn't know what to do with the debit entry. What could be the entry of buying motor vehicle on cash?
Uh, Sir, asset debit, motor vehicle debit and cash credit.
Cash credit. But what to do with the debit entry? So made the accounting entries suspense debit and bank
Okay.
credit with 1575. Mean instead of entering entry debit asset
Asset and credit, bank or
with how
cash.
much amount? What's the amount?
Motor vehicle, it's
1575
1575.
and credit cash with
Cash.
1575. He has recorded what?
Debit
Debit
suspense
suspense
and credit cash or bank 1575.
1575 and credit cash with 1575. So what should be the correct entry?
Sir, debit motor vehicle and credit suspense with
Yes,
1575.
debit asset
Asset
with
1575 and
1575 and credit
credit suspense.
suspense account that he has recorded wrong.
Yes, sir.
Is that fine?
Oh, yes, sir.
So number three done. Now we are moving towards number four. See what happened in number four. A credit balance of 81 in the sundry income account. Mean the income should be credited with 81 had been incorrectly extracted on the list of balance as a debit balance. Mean we should have record sundry income credit sundry income with 81. We have recorded a debit sundry income with 81.
Okay.
So what should be the rectification?
So we will credit it with 162.
So credit sundry income with 162, 181 to eliminate this effect and 81 to correct this effect.
Yes,
And
sir.
what should be on the debit side?
The suspense account.
Suspense account exactly with
Sir, the
162
screen.
will be gone. Okay, one BB. U07. One VVU07. It's not accepting. VVU. Let's try this. Zero seven. It's not working.
So we can cover that later. I mean, I have understood the basis.
U07. Let me check if it's work.
So
So it's not behaving properly. One BBU07. This one. It's VV. It's U. It's 0 and 7. Yeah, done. Network is getting problem.
also there is a scanner also.
The network is getting problem. Network not accepting this. I think there is issue with the internet connection. Okay, what we need to do, we need to just rectify the other entries as well, and then we need to put the amounts in suspense account.
Oh yes, sir.
Can we cover this in next class then? Let me try once again. Yeah. Waiting for the receiver to accept, waiting for the receiver to accept. Receiver is not accepting this. I think it's done. No.
It's sir, there is an allow option. You have to allow it. Yes, yes sir.
फिर मेरा बस मिस हो जाएगा मेरा बस मिस हो जाएगा
Okay, we will cover this in next class. Yeah, this question we will cover in next class
next class
because they need to close the room. So time is 9 o'clock. They need to close the campus. So we will cover this question in next class. We'll start from this question again. The rest
Sir,
chapter
when
we
is the
have
next
completed.
class?
Only this question is left.
Okay.
So next class I will inform you.
Sir, is tomorrow the BT class?
Will inform you then.
Oh, okay, sir.
So from this question onward, we will cover in next class.